You are watching AnewZ. I'm Bakhtiar Sanov, and let's see the headlines. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says terrorists must surrender in Syria. White House unveils widespread sanctions against Russia's energy sector. Croatia heads to second round of presidential election. Analysts predict victory for incumbent President Zoran Milanovic. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said that separatist terrorists in Syria are now increasingly cornered following the Syrian opposition's liberation of Damascus, criticizing the international actors for enabling terrorist groups to thrive in Syria. During ruling Justice Development Party meeting in Aydın province, Turkish president said that the terrorists have only two choices: renounce terrorism and lay down their arms, or face inevitable elimination. Erdogan made clear that the ongoing hostility from these groups toward Turkey and Syria would not lead to any success. Highlighting the importance of peace and stability, Erdogan expressed his hope for the region to be freed from the scourge of terrorism without further bloodshed. He noted that recent political steps in Syria and Turkey have created an opportunity for faster progress toward peace, with a focus on development, stability, and brotherhood. Croatia's presidential election heads into the second round this Sunday. Incumbent Zoran Milanovic will face the candidate from Croatian Democratic Union (SDU), Dragan Primorac. Milanovic, backed by opposition Social Democrats, secured 49.1% of the vote in December, while Primorac from the ruling SDU won 19.35%. The presidency is largely ceremonial, but Milanovic's term has been marked by clashes with the government over foreign policy and corruption issues. Political analysts predict Milanovic has a strong chance of winning the runoff. Wind power provided 20% of the electricity consumed in Europe last year, but the capacity built during the year was less than half of what is needed to meet the European Union's 2030 energy and climate targets. That's according to industry group Wind Europe. Wind has been a growing part of Europe's electricity production for more than 20 years, and the European Union wants it to grow much more to meet targets to combat climate change, and also it reduces reliance on fossil fuels. Europe built 15 gigawatts of new wind energy last year, including 13 gigawatts of offshore wind and around 2 gigawatts on onshore wind, according to data from Wind Europe. European Union countries accounted for 13 gigawatts of these, but to reach its 2030 climate targets, the 27-nation bloc should be building 30 gigawatts a year of new wind farms. The EU wants wind power to account for 34% of electricity consumed by 2030 and more than 50% by 2050. The White House has unveiled new sanctions aimed at Russian oil and liquefied natural gas, striking a significant blow to one of the country's largest revenue sources. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre announced that these sanctions could cost Russia billions monthly, fulfilling commitments made by President Biden and G7 leaders to weaken Russia's war efforts. She also confirmed that President Biden spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky, reaffirming U.S. support for Ukraine after canceling a planned meeting in Rome to address fires in Southern California.
The President did speak to President Zelensky moments ago. We will have a readout for all of you. Obviously, the President wanted to reach out to President Zelensky because, as you just stated, they were supposed to meet in Rome. It did not happen because the President decided to stay and be back here because of the catastrophic fires, obviously, that we're seeing in Southern California. So the President decided to stay back, but they did have a conversation. They spoke moments ago, and so I know the team, before I came out here, was going to work on a readout, and so we'll have that out to all of you.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump was sentenced to unconditional discharge for his conviction last year on 34 charges of business fraud related to a hush money payment to Stormy Daniels during the 2016 presidential campaign. In other words, Trump will not be imprisoned, fined, or face probation. However, his conviction still stands. Mitch McConnell brings more from New York.
Well, this morning, Donald Trump was sentenced to an unconditional discharge here in New York. What does that mean? Well, essentially what it sounds like. He's been discharged with no conditions attached to his release, and in 10 days he'll become the 47th President of the United States. This case stems back to last May when Donald Trump was found guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records in an attempt to cover up hush money payments to the adult film star Stormy Daniels. Now, prosecutors say he did that to try and influence the 2016 presidential election, hoping that that story would not come out and hurt his campaign. This morning we heard from the prosecutors, the defence lawyers, the judge and of course Donald Trump. First we heard from the prosecutor, Joshua Steinglass. He made clear that Donald Trump has a disdain for the rule of law, he said. It's reported by the New York Times that when he said that, Donald Trump, who appeared virtually, was shaking his head. You see, the probation report that prosecutors were given stated that Donald Trump sees himself above the law and that he's taken no responsibility. We then heard from Todd Blanche, the defence lawyer defending Donald Trump. He said this case was passed over multiple times by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and was only resurrected again, essentially for a third time, and then tried after Donald Trump announced he was running for president again in 2022. We heard from Mr. Trump himself, who said it's been a very terrible experience. He said, I think it's been a tremendous setback for New York and its court system. And finally, we heard from Judge Juan Merchan, who has been overseeing this case. He talked about what he called a paradox, saying outside the courtroom, it was very unique, given that it was a former president on trial. He said inside the courtroom, though, it was very normal and ran as if it was any other court case. Judge Juan Merchan also discussed the fact that Donald Trump would be sentenced to this unconditional discharge. He said Donald Trump, the ordinary citizen, Donald Trump, the criminal defendant, would not be protected by the protections of the presidency. It's only the office that shields him from the seriousness of this verdict, essentially referring to the fact that it would have been impractical for Donald Trump to be sentenced to jail in this case. So from now, he'll move out of this court case and he'll be focused on his presidency, which begins in around 10 days from now. Mitch McCann for AnewZ in New York.
Firefighters are still unable to contain wildfires in Los Angeles as the death toll rises to 11, and forecasters warn winds could stoke an already extremely dangerous situation. In the meantime, police have arrested about 20 people for raiding abandoned buildings, and a curfew was put in place.
Wildfires raging through Los Angeles have shown no sign of abating, leaving widespread destruction in their wake. The death toll has risen to 10, with officials bracing for further fatalities. Two major fires, the Palisades and Eaton fires, have consumed nearly 31,000 acres and destroyed thousands of homes.
So the Eaton fire is now estimated to be 13,690 acres. It's grown since our morning press conference because the fire is making a run towards the historic Mount Wilson area. We are still at 0% containment, but we now have a better estimation of the number of fire personnel assigned to the incident. We're now at 1,527 personnel assigned, and like this morning, additional mutual aid resources to continue to arrive to assist in the firefight.
At least 9,000 structures have been destroyed or severely damaged, and over 180,000 residents have been forced to evacuate, with an additional 200,000 on alert.
It's hard to explain. I mean, like 2-3 days ago it was beautiful, it was nice, but today it's something, you know, all smoky, it's all burned out, and you could see all the burned cars, and you see like there's no houses and stuff like that. It reminds me back to like Afghanistan. So it was pretty tragic, pretty bad.
The economic fallout from these fires is expected to be staggering. Experts estimate damages could range from $135 billion to $150 billion, with insured losses alone potentially exceeding $20 billion. Thousands of residents, many of them without sufficient insurance coverage, face long-term financial ruin.
Had just come from my family home where my mother lives. That was burned to a crisp, so that was the initial shock value. And then I came up to my home and same thing, it's completely dust. So That's I just had to see it with my own eyes to believe it.
In Pacific Palisades, an upscale community known for its celebrity residents, several high-profile figures have lost their homes. Actress Jamie Lee Curtis, whose property was among those destroyed, has pledged $1 million to relief efforts. Other celebrities, including Billy Crystal, Paris Hilton, and Mandy Moore, have also suffered losses while rallying to support victims. The wildfires are already being hailed as some of the worst in California's history, and experts predict the rebuilding process could take years.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan has expressed deep sorrow over the widespread devastation caused by the wildfires in California, USA. In a statement, the ministry extended heartfelt condolences to the government and people of the United States, as well as to the families of the victims. Azerbaijan also wished for a speedy recovery for those injured and for a quick resolution to the tragedy. The European Union said that it has offered to extend its monitoring mission along Armenia's border with Azerbaijan by 2 years. The mission was launched in February 2023 with the aim of preventing or minimizing ceasefire violations. Its 2-year mandate ends next month, and extension was proposed by EU's Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas. An official Palestinian tally of direct death in the Israel-Hamas war likely undercounted the number of fatalities by tens of thousands as the Gaza Strip's healthcare infrastructure unraveled. That's according to a peer-reviewed study published in the Lancet Medical Journal.
Researchers estimated there were 64,260 deaths due to traumatic injury from air and ground campaign in Gaza in the first 9 months of the war, from October 2023 to the end of June 2024. That figure is 41% higher than the official Palestinian Health Ministry count for the time. The Lancet study said nearly 60% of those killed were women, children, and people over 65. It did not provide an estimate of how many Palestinian combatants were among the dead. The war began on October 7, 2023, after Hamas gunmen stormed across the border with Israel, killing 1,200 people and taking more than 250 hostages, according to Israeli tallies. Palestinian health officials currently put the death toll of the conflict at more than 46,000 people. The Lancet study was conducted by academics at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, Yale University and other institutions. Anecdotal reports suggested a significant number of dead lay under the rubble of Gaza and therefore missing from tallies. So using data from at least 2 independent sources, researchers looked for individuals who appeared on multiple lists of those killed. This method, called capture-recapture analysis, has been used to evaluate deaths in other conflict zones. Less overlap between lists suggests more deaths have gone unrecorded, information that can be used to estimate the actual toll.
In a ceremony held at BMC's facilities in Pınarbaşı, Izmir, Turkey's first series of locally manufactured motorized tactical wheeled armored vehicles were delivered to the Turkish Land Forces Command and the General Directorate of Gendarmerie. The tactical wheeled armored vehicles designed by Turkish engineers at BMC under the coordination of the Presidency of the Defense Industry marked a significant milestone in the country's defense industry. The event, attended by key officials including Haluk Görgün, president of the Defense Industry Agency, saw the delivery of 50 Vuran vehicles to the Land Forces Command, 40 Vuran vehicles to the Gendarmerie, and 10 Kirpi vehicles to the Land Forces Command inventory. The tactical wheeled armored vehicles project started in 2016, in line with the needs of the Turkish Land Forces and Gendarmerie. The first 2 members of the vehicle family developed within the scope of the project, Kirpi and Vuran, have been delivered since 2018. To date, more than 1,500 vehicles from this family have been exported abroad. Bulgaria has temporarily lost its contracted natural gas supply from Azerbaijan due to the technical issues in the subsea condensate export line. BP Azerbaijan says all necessary work is underway to restore operations at the Alpha platform.
Azerbaijan has temporarily suspended its contracted natural gas supply to Bulgaria due to technical issues. Bulgaria, Bulgaria's state-owned gas company, says the outage lasted from the 7th to the 11th of January. But alternative supplies from Turkey's potash prevented disruptions in the region's natural gas market. Bulgaria confirmed in a statement that the suspension did not result in extra costs for replacement gas and highlighted the incident as a reminder of the need for diversifying natural gas sources. Sources suggest the interruption stemmed from a technical issue at BP's Alpha platform in the Shah Deniz gas field. BP Azerbaijan confirmed the shutdown of operations, citing problems in the subsea condensate export line. They say all necessary work is underway to restore operations in the Alpha platform.
BP, as operator of Shah Deniz gas and condensate field, confirms that a technical issue was detected in our subsea condensate export pipeline between offshore Shah Deniz Alpha platform and Sangachal terminal onshore. For operational reasons, production and export operations from the Shah Deniz Alpha platform were suspended and platform has been safely shut down. I'm happy to confirm that all people are safe and there is no environmental impact, and all our offshore facilities, including Shah Deniz Alpha platform and all subsea pipelines, are safe. We completely mobilized our resources and we're doing our best to resume our operations and restart our production from Shah Deniz Alpha as quick as possible. Shah Deniz Bravo platform and the related export system from that platform are full operational. In fact, we have maximized production from Shah Deniz Bravo and continuing our supply of energy to our clients to the extent of available gas. And we hope that our activities in Shah Deniz Alpha platform will result with positive outcome. Will be resulted with positive outcome very soon, and will resume our operations in Shah Deniz Alpha very soon.
State oil company of Azerbaijan, SOCAR, has not commented on the issue yet. Bulgaria's natural gas supply has been under strain since April 2022, when the country stopped importing Russian gas over disputes involving payment in rubles.
We will keep you updated on this issue. And now in the world of sports, the winners of the sprint category at the Ski Mountaineering World Cup held in Azerbaijan are now after the first day of the competition. On the first day of the Ski Mountaineering World Cup held at the Shakhtar Tourism Complex, the winners in the sprint category were decided. French athlete Emily Harrop took first place on the podium in the women's event.
We have only 2 athletes, Azerbaijani athletes, at the start during these next 4 days. But we have a lot of youngsters who are already training for the next disciplines coming up and next races in the coming years. They are 14, 15 years old. So obviously it takes time also, some years, to become a pro in that sport. And you will see today that the level is quite high. But I'm sure and positive that over the next years also Azerbaijani athletes will be in the top ranks.
We will be number 6, and then we will have now the best 5.
Swiss athlete Mariana Fadden secured second place, while France's Perrilla Passy claimed third. In the men's category, Swiss athlete Lida Aaron won gold. His compatriot Robin Bossard took silver, and Spain's Martinez Ferrer earned the bronze medal.
It was a really tough race. It was really close. The battles in every heat, there were so strong guys, and the level was so high, and so you had to go all in every heat and to go into the final, and you know everything has to be perfect to win the race. Yeah, it's incredible to win it.
Approximately 130 athletes from 26 countries, including individual neutral athletes, are competing in the Ski Mountaineering World Cup. The athletes will compete in the vertical discipline on January 11th and the individual discipline on January 13th.
I hope that it is only the first of many World Cups, and why not European Championships and World Championships in next years. Because really I have to insist, and we are very happy about being here.
The World Cup held at the Shakhtar Tourism Complex is one of the qualification events for earning a license to compete in the 2026 Winter Olympic Games. The competition, supported by the Ministry of Youth and Sports and organized by the International Ski Mountaineering Federation, the Azerbaijan Winter Sports Federation and the Shakhtar Tourism Center, will conclude on January 13th. China's civil aviation sector achieved record passenger traffic, reduced losses, and expanded infrastructure in 2024, with new airports, runways, and routes driving continued growth.
China's civil aviation sector experienced significant growth, with record-breaking passenger traffic and a strong increase in cargo volumes. Passenger numbers reached a new high of 730 million, marking an almost 18% increase from the previous year, while cargo and mail volumes rose by 22%. International flights nearly returned to pre-pandemic levels, with a 29% rise in international cargo, signaling a solid recovery in global trade. Record investment in the sector, totaling $18.41 billion, funded major infrastructure upgrades, including new runways, more aircraft parking spaces, and expanded terminal areas. With 263 airports across the country, China now has the capacity to handle over 1.5 billion passengers annually, alongside a growing air route network. Improvements in the air traffic control systems and communication infrastructure also boosted operational efficiency. As a result, the sector reduced its losses by over $2.5 billion, moving closer to profitability and positioning itself for continued growth and success in the future.
Rose Cummings, known as the Scottish Elvis, stunned audiences with his performances at the iconic Park Elvis Festival. The 40-year-old performer became a fan of Elvis after attending the festival in 2017 and has since become a rising star in the tribute artist world.
Ross Cummings, who now lives in Sydney with his wife and 3 children, was working as a builder when he first attended the Park's Elvis Festival. It was during the return train journey back to Sydney that he became hooked on Elvis Presley, watching YouTube clips for hours.
And after the festival, I was just blown away with how good it was and how amazing all these ETAs are, and the shows that I saw here were fantastic. So the whole train journey back to Sydney, I was basically watching Elvis YouTube clips, and yeah, from then I was just hooked. Loved Elvis ever since then.
Cummings also discovered a connection between Elvis's bloodline and Scotland, which further inspired his tribute persona.
And when I looked around, I saw Indian Elvis, I saw Kiwi Elvis, I saw all these different guys from different countries that were being Elvis, and I thought, oh, I'm going to do Scottish Elvis, why not? Presley is one of the great Scottish names, and you know, Elvis's bloodline did come from Scotland in the 1700s.
Now performing at his 3rd Parks Elvis Festival in 2025, Cummings has become a fan favorite. However, he admits that the hardest parts of his act are putting on his wig and makeup. Despite the challenges, Cummings continues to impress, with fans, especially women, flocking to take photos with him after his performances.
Well, this is my first time here at Parks, and I met him yesterday at the train station, and I found him ultra charismatic and very friendly and very different, and he's very sexy, and yeah, there's just something about it.
Cummings remains humble despite his growing popularity, saying that the most important thing for him is to see people enjoying his performances.
Whether it's good, bad or indifferent, I enjoy doing it. I love to see people smiling and having a good time, and really for me that's what it's all about. It's I think it should be the goal for everybody that performs, you know. Why are you performing? You're not performing in the mirror, you're performing for people, so you want them to be happy and enjoying it.
The Parks Elvis Festival runs for 5 days, coinciding with Elvis Presley's birthday on January 8th, concluding on Sunday.
That's all we have for you for now. Thank you for tuning in and keep watching AnewZ.